therefore it is such an important event. I'd like to welcome you. So this is where it's going to start. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. This is live cast from Singapore all the way to the United States of America. It's a collaboration between myself, GDM Production, with the very valued collaborator, Ms. CJ Eves Lopez, the American award-winning author and the editor-in-chief. Let's give CJ a big welcome, everyone. We will have, because it's going to be just 1 hour event, and there's going to be like 10 of us. So I will really have to go along this in terms of the schedule. And also I'd like to thank the sponsor. Without the sponsor, this is also impossible. And the main TV sponsor is Dr. Mobi, the #1 professional TV in America, who is the award winner for the Telly Awards and so many mentions in the Hollywood Digest. Thank you so much, Dr. Mobi, for your kindness and support. Today would not be possible without Annette also, because she is the big reveal. She's the big cover girl, and let's give a big applause to Dr. Mobi as the double cover for male and female for Lynette and Annette. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
And also this would have been possible without a Singapore participants. Mr. Idin Liu, who is a 40-year policymaker in Singapore. It's such an honor to have him retired and build the Singapore economy and build the Singapore educational system. I think he's got lots to contribute. And also Professor Koh Siew Min, all the way from Singapore, professor from National University of Singapore, 30 years of professional teaching and training. And also Jamil. Thank you, Jamil, the community leader in America, and also Ralph, all the way from the United States, the Chief Master Sergeant of USA Air Force. Hello, salute to all the veterans, Annette and Ralph. Let's give all of them a warm welcome. Thank you. Because the time is so short, please read the article today, and even before we start, there's going to be an event humanity video followed by speech from featured speaker and our event sponsor, Dr. Mobi. And then very quickly, we will dive into Annette and also CJ for your speech. Please take the cue from me, because CJ is going to be a wonderful speaker for us. You know, I take her as a leader, as an advisor for the whole magazine for It's My Life, where all of us are, we play a part in there. So I'm just going to play the video very quickly before anyone starts, so that we know, so that we are in there in the video. And before we even start, it's a 3-in-1 video. It's a humanity video, plus Dr. Mobi's speech as the featured keynote speaker, and also unveiling of the magazine cover. And I would like to let everyone know that the magazine is already now live as an ebook on Amazon.com since this morning. So everything has fallen into place, and I'll talk more, but please do not just blink, all right? Annette and Dr. Mobi, Ralph, Jamil, and our speakers from Singapore.
Yes.
Since the day I can remember, I opened my eyes in this beautiful world. There were eyes of hope and love, and those were of my parents. And they wanted to make sure that we spread that message all across the globe. In my opinion, humanity is the quality of being human and human nature of kindness and benevolence. Humanity enables individuals to do what is right for themselves and those around them. Believe in humanity means qualities that make us love and have sympathy and compassion for helping others. All passionate and honest actions are what we are up to. Humanity believing means putting more trust in others. For example, as much as people do wrong things to you, you pay with good. This action will trigger some sense of kindness and also pay well for good. The leading human needs include authenticity as a whole person, connection, freedom, growth, meaning safety, and individual's health. Apart from person's intellectual abilities, there is that inborn quality, and that is the humanity. Humanity is showed by focusing on people's attention, choosing to love, and treating everyone equally, forgiving people, and showing compassion. In summary, humanity is the universal religion. What I always believe is that if we save one soul, we actually save the whole mankind. And we should remember that in this planet, we are alone. If we don't help each other, there's nobody that can save the mankind. So my message is very simple. Save mankind by focusing on humanity. Thank you for listening.
Let's give everyone
Thank you.
a round of applause. I hope that
Thank
Dr. Moby and Annette, you are happy with the unveiling of the magazine. And with this, we announce the event is formally open. And let's welcome my chair lady, Miss CJ Eve Lopez, for her welcoming speech. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give her a warm welcome all the way from the United States, from Singapore.
Yes, CJ.
CJ.
Thank you so much, Vicki, and everybody. Welcome to this fantastic event. And I am so blessed and honored to be here. I want to thank each of you for the amazing spirit that you brought to this magazine. And I want to thank Vicki Esther Chang for putting this collaboration together. Over the past couple of years, we've seen the world come to a whole different place that none of us has seen before. And what we have seen happen is ordinary people with extraordinary spirits show what humanity is. These extraordinary people have brought us back into the fold of what humanity is supposed to be. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being there, for showing up, and for being the fantastic individuals that humanity needs when the world became different. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Vicki, for putting this together.
Thank you so much, CJ. And you know, I just want to add a couple of words because I think everyone is given about 3 minutes. This is going to be a fast event. I just want to let everyone know the spirit behind. I think one of the spirit behind is that, in Singapore, we live in such a privileged life in Singapore. And a lot of times we forget that people are suffering. People are less fortunate than us. A lot of times when we shut our doors, we have food in the fridge, but we forget that there are people suffering. And during these pandemic times, I'd like to put this into perspective. I think the last year of 2020 and 2021 have actually brought mankind together. It really shows that our lives are tied together. Something happens in New Zealand all the way down there in the southern hemisphere, something happens in the United States, and something happens to Sweden, right? And something happens in India. So I think that this is the time whereby I think can start having this conversation about humanity in the backdrop of the pandemic, and it kind of wakes everyone up. Actually, our lives are tied together. So therefore, this is a spirit between what CJ and ourselves are doing. We find this trans-Pacific collaboration so meaningful, because if we can do it and start a conversation between all of us, people can do it all around the world. And if you and I, we can use technology to have a conversation, let the spirit grow and let people start knowing each other through the technology. We don't have to take a plane. So I think the spirit coming from myself as a humble Singaporean, likewise with Professor Koh and also with my former principal, Mr. Edin Liu, I think we live in a very privileged time in our lives. And we forget that we all have a genie in a bottle. Whatever we click, we are able to connect, buy things, get things delivered. We are living in a place whereby everyone has genie in a bottle, or now I have 2 genie in a bottle. And how many people are living under the poverty line? And also today's conversation, I thought is so important about It's My Life, because we as mainstream people, I think we need to help people. And Dr. Moby's speech says, without the humanity, we can't save ourselves. No one is going to save us. Before we go to Annette, can Dr. Moby say a couple of sentences for your speech just now, about 20 seconds before we go to Annette as our next
Yes,
speaker?
Thank you, Vicky, for having me. I think the audio is clear, right? Vicky, audio is clear? Okay. So thank you for having me. And I know a lot of people around on this screen. I know Vicky, I know CJ, and I've done a lot of shows with them. It's always been fun to see everybody. This is an important time. Pandemic has definitely really highlighted efforts on everyone. Like CJ said, ordinary people are doing extraordinary things. And that's the same stands in my hospital. People who are cleaning and making sure the hospital is ready for next patient is a lot. And they are doing shifts after shifts just to, there are people unfortunately also stepped away and they would not join. So they would call off. So, but there are people always there who would just do extra work, extra shifts. And that is always about us, as a human, we'll always find few good people, always step up and take a control here. And that's what's happening. And God bless everyone who is putting anything and everything they have. This is a difficult times, economically, spiritually, everything. A lot of people have lost or second doubting their faith as well as trust. But I can only say that don't lose hope, don't lose faith. And this test does not mean that we lose our faith or our belief. It should strengthen it, and we should believe in good always and strive for it, because we are all connected. We have same problems, and this is important for everybody. People think people in poor countries, if they don't get vaccine, they can somehow disappear. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. This virus is going to keep coming back if we don't treat or help everybody on this planet Earth. Everybody is human, and if if these rich countries don't put money to help poor countries, I'm afraid this virus will keep forever, and this will be very bad. Okay, so or at least keep coming back, because we are all connected. And person in India or Pakistan can spread the virus very easily to anyone sitting in Singapore or in US. So this is the key. And sad, I think good thing is US is putting money, but everybody should pitch in. We should all help to get rid of this virus. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Moby. Because Dr. Moby and Annette, they are the frontline people who actually save humanity. And I would thought that it is so apt during this time to invite both of you, Dr. Moby and Annette, people who have been in the front line saving lives in different ways. Dr. Moby has seen colleagues who passed on due to the coronavirus, and also Annette, who's been there doing her work as the frontline combat major who lead an army of men. And I've watched your speech, Annette, such a wonderful lady. So, ma'am, so I will pass the floor to Annette. Annette, I hope you like the cover that we have done for you. And we'll talk about the cover a little bit later from myself as a designer point of view at the end, if people stay back after the event. But thank you so much, Dr. Moby. And Dr. Moby has been such a kind soul for all of us, for CJ and myself. We will go one by one through so that we will have a talk, especially during the panel where all of us can talk together. So I would like to give the floor to ma'am, Miss Annette Mary Wittenberger. Thank you so much for being with us. And I would like all of us to give her a warm welcome with a round of applause from Singapore and the United States.
Thank you so much.
The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute honor. I keep telling CJ I'm speechless for this opportunity, but the cover's great. The whole magazine's great. So thank you so much for that. Can you hear me? Great. So for my line of work, when it comes to humanity, I'm really big on mental health. I've seen an increase in numbers when it comes to suicide, increase in numbers when it comes to not wanting to have that conversation because people are still afraid of being judged, on what kind of person they are because they have.
Yes, I can. And then I just also want to say that, yeah.
Increase in numbers when it comes to suicide, increase in numbers when it comes to not wanting to have that conversation because people are still afraid of being judged, on what kind of person they are because they have to. Yes, I can. Being judged over what kind of person they are. Yes, I can.
Sorry, are we there? Is there a technical fault somewhere? Is everyone good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think there was a technical fault because the I think Annette, she is actually someone who is actually very involved in mental health. And I would just also want to show some statistics to Annette, who is doing mental. According to what I found in Singapore, a population about 6 million, there is a record of suicides last year in 2020, 451, and they are actually recorded suicides. And every other day you can see people are trying to be, they are being very violent because they're all, I think people are in a very, they are all thrown in a very off tangent situation in a pandemic situation. Either parents get violent or couples get violent within the home. So we're seeing a lot of that. Thank you so much, Annette, for your work. With that, I'd like to welcome Ralph. Ralph from, he is actually the Chief Master Sergeant. And hi, sir, how are you? Welcome to Singapore, wherever you are. Would you like to where you are and also your take on humanity and what keeps you up at night, Ralph?
Thanks for first of all inviting me on this event. It's awesome. Thank you, CJ and Dr. Moby, everybody on this panel. It's an honor to be a part of this. So humanity to me is about caring about other people. The way I put that out there, I coach youth basketball because there's a lot of kids here when the school, they shut down everything and they had no sports. They asked me, hey, can you volunteer to be a basketball coach? And so I kind of teach them about life and sports, but my whole goal is to teach them to be better people, good students, and then athletes. Because in that order, I believe that, you know, no matter what they do in life, they'll keep that order and they'll be good people. What keeps me up at night with that is just, am I having enough time with my family? Because coaching does take a lot of time. And being a chief master sergeant in the Air Force, you know, it's even as a reservist, it takes a lot of your free time away because you're still trying to take care of your troops, even when you're off duty. And, you know, it's sad that we do know people that committed suicide. We do know people that died in wars. And I've been pretty close friends with a few of them. And so I try to go out there with especially with the mental health issue, I try to tell them, hey, you know, don't be afraid to speak up. I'm here. There is a lot of resources out there. And I even tell the kids that, hey, if you get down on yourselves, I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm not just your coach. I'm here to mentor you, help you, you know, get through everything. Because I believe our children, you know, will set us up for an even better future if we do right by, you know, ourselves. So that's all that stuff that, you know, my belief in humanity and what keeps me up at night.
Thank you so much, Ralph, for your speech. I think due to some of the technical fault earlier, I did cut Annette's speech earlier on. I was so sorry about that because there was some technical fault. And you know that we are having this, using the technology to actually join everyone in. Apologies, Annette, for cutting your speech. Can I come back to you now? Really sorry because it was frozen on my screen, and we'll come to Annette and also Ralph and the rest of the speakers in order from the schedule. Annette, would you like to continue a speech from Ralph? Thank you, Ralph, for your wonderful speech. We'd like to talk more a little bit later on at the panel discussion. Annette, I'm so sorry. Would you like to continue about your mental health, which is so huge in Singapore?
No, not a problem at all. No, I was just saying that it's my passion to create a safe space to have that conversation. And because of how important it is, just like you were saying, in Singapore, not many of us don't realize what's going on outside of our bubble, outside of the US. There's so much more going on. So we need to be the ones who continue the conversation, start it, continue it, normalize it. We need to be able to have that talk. And there's just so many out there that feel like there's no way out because they're being judged for having those feelings, having those thoughts. Not everybody wants to go to therapy, because of the stigma. They don't want to talk about having that conversation with a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, whatever the case is. It's not something that we feel comfortable saying to other people. So what do? We live in this closed off world. We isolate ourselves because we feel like we have no way out. And that's why when I decided to talk about it 5 years ago, it was very difficult. It was almost embarrassing, but I decided that I needed to. I have children that look up to me. I have my family, and it's still, we still have our days to where we don't feel like we have that space. And so that's exactly why I have, I created a website, a podcast, and I wrote a book about it, because I wish I had that space 20 years ago, to where I didn't have to finally come to terms with the fact that there was something wrong, and I didn't know how to talk about it. So, and I think that's, when it comes to humanity, we need to not judge a book by its cover, so to speak. We need to be sympathetic to people. You just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They might seem like they're perfect on Instagram or social media, but you never know what's really going on. So be sympathetic. Have that. Be human, let people be human no matter what's going on. And it's just very frustrating. I get really frustrated, and I'm really passionate about it because I've seen it. I've lost soldiers to suicide. I lost family. I lost, best friends. And it's just, I have an 18 and 21-year-old now, and it's like, we have to make sure that our children know that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to talk about it. If you're angry, if you're sad, you're allowed to have those feelings. Just because we grew up in a society where we didn't talk about it, and you weren't allowed to cry or be sad, we have to now teach our children that you don't need to continue that cycle of how we were brought up, that it's okay. And I just, that's what keeps me up at night, is knowing that there's people out there who feel so isolated, who feel so lost because they don't have anybody to talk to. So we're here now, I'm here now, and anytime anybody needs something, I've had strangers reach out to me on Instagram or my website that just need to be heard. So let us be that people that will hear them, because that's really what they need. They just want to be heard.
Thank you so much, Annette, and each of us will have a chance to ask each other a question during the panel discussion. And I would love each of you to actually ask Ralph also, and ask Miguel, and ask Dr. Ayman, who is with us now from Pakistan. So we'll have a discussion a little bit later on. Thank you so much, Annette, in each and every one of issues that keep us up at night. Myself, I do have a lot of issues that I would like to share at the panel. So I'd like to welcome the next speaker, which is Mr. Eden Liu, 40 years of public service, serving the country of Singapore, also involved in restructuring the public health sector in Singapore, and also building the polytechnics as the forefathers of the Singapore education system that we are quite famed for. So let's welcome Eden. Thank you, Eden, for being with us. Eden, take the floor.
Yeah, thanks very much for inviting me. Sorry, I sort of missed part of this conversation with a bad internet. Okay, there are 3 minutes given, so maybe I just want to highlight 3 issues that concerns me regarding humanity. So, okay, the first item I was just thinking of is, you know, Singapore has a very high GDP per capita. You know, we're basically a rich country for some reasons, but at the same time, like other rich countries like USA, you know, there's a big difference between the rich and the poor. And being involved in vocational education when I was in the so-called industry, we struggle to help, you know, our students to graduate and then after that get a good job, because our economy is very open and there's lots of competition from, you know, all the people around in the region, and that brought down the wages of some of our people who are less qualified, or even qualified, they may not have the best job and the best pay and so on and so forth. So I think that this is one issue that really concerns me in Singapore, because it will also affects, you know, our political, not say political stability, but well, within the country there will not be so-called peace. The second issue that I am quite concerned about is I do travel around in the region, and around us is Southeast Asia, places like Indonesia, like Laos, Thailand. There are lots of people out there without water, without sanitation, without energy, and they are struggling in their life and they couldn't have a good living. How we as a richer country can help out in this area, I think it's a big issue for all of us. And the third item I was thinking is the longer term, and perhaps where, you know, we do talk about all this, you know, global warming, because once it becomes, the climate is completely changed, you will have much more flooding, much more drought, much more, and the region around us are all low-lying area next to the sea, and many of the poorer and less well-equipped community will suffer more significantly than those who have the money to build defenses and so on and so forth. So what can we as a society in Singapore, in America, in China, in all the better well-off country, what can we do to decarbonize and, you know, have a better sort of be able to solve this climate change issue? I think that will be a big issue for the future of our children and the children of those countries where they are not as well equipped and able to handle this climate change issue. Okay, so those are the 3 things that keep me, not say awake at night, that will be too much. I won't be able to sleep if it happens, but it is some issue that I've been thinking about, and what can we as countries with more wealth do in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eden. And just to keep everyone informed, Singapore government has actually put aside 100 billion for the next 10 years to mitigate climate change effects, and we feel it. It has to be real because we're having floods these days. And when it really floods, the cars actually just drift down the street, and you can see lives will be displaced, and there's nowhere to run in Singapore because we are an island. And if there's rising sea level, I think islands will be the one that suffer most. Thank you so much. I think we'll have a chance to actually interact during the panel. Let's quickly have Professor Koh before coming to Thomas, and then Miguel, and then Dr. Ayman on a special invite from Dr. Ayman from Pakistan. Let's have Professor Koh. Professor Koh, welcome. And she's such a dear sister. Professor Koh, she's actually a master trainer and also a professor at NUS for 30 years. And she's training the top management of Boeing, Shell Petroleum, Swiss Bank, ABB, and also Citibank for financial training to the top chief financial officers. So thank you, Professor Koh. I know your time is very valuable. The floor is yours, Professor Koh.
Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for being here tonight. For us, it's night. Yeah, for you, it's day. Yeah, thanks, Vicky. I think there are a few issues coming from my 33 years of experience. When I first started banking, I was in a bank. I served people called the clients with a lot of passion. I invested in them. I put my relationship building and bonding with them. And ever since I branched off, I tangent off into academic teachings, I find that I could use my relationship skills to touch lives in the school. And these are the millennials, you know, the future nation builders in Singapore. And because of Singapore, I'm not just touching life of Singaporeans. I see people from Vietnam, Myanmar, Indonesia, all the region. I even have people coming from Korea, you know, and I ever had somebody from Mongolia. Yeah, so what keeps me excited at night, especially during this pandemic time, is I could sense the stress. As you know, in Singapore, we really strive for a lot of academic excellence. And behind all these very good results that you see, we ace in a lot of academic, tasks. Our families who are working very hard to support them. And I think just now, my fellow Singaporean, Mr. Eden Liu, he spoke about some of the children here come from families who have been broken because they're striving so hard just to achieve the financial status. And so I thought the little I could do in the 3 hours of lecture when I have in the National University of Singapore, in a Singapore Institute of Management lecture, was to speak live encouragement into the souls. I treat them equally. So not everyone is equally academic, but I'll make sure that I treat them as individuals. They have their own talents. Yeah, mind you, I've got lots of students. I've seen like 28 years of graduates, batches after batches. Some may not be very good in getting exam marks, but guess what? They really work very well in a society and they touch so many lives. So I thought during this time, I also saw some people when they turn on the video, when we had our circuit breaker in Singapore last year, I thought it was like very rude of some of my students not to turn the video. And when I urge them, I coax them, I find that when they turn it on, behind the camera is a whole family of many siblings, father, mother, all trying to work from home with a lot of difficulty. One of them actually put his laptop on a washing machine, and behind were the little toddlers running around. And from then on, I felt that my job is not just to transfer knowledge and experience. I think I'm here to inspire them, and it's actually the mental stress that they're going through. Studying and imparting knowledge which they can get from the internet is not a difficult thing, but speaking live into them, building up, transferring what I have acquired over the years so that they can hear me, but they also want me to hear them, really. They have their views, we hear them. All they wanted was just a year to listen to them because they dare not speak to the parents. As Asians, the father is usually a very difficult figure who sometimes become very stern and they don't want to look weak in the face of the children. So if I could be that mentor, I love this session, you know, I'm learning so many things. It reinforces the things I'm struggling, how to give care, to be a good mentor, to be a counselor. I think these are so important. Yeah, so I can't wait to exchange views with all of you. I think I will end here. Thank you so much. Thanks, Vicky.
Thank you so much for Professor Ko for her speech, and we have time to interact. It seems that everyone has something that keeps them up at night. And I would like to invite our next speaker here, who is Jamil Thomas, a dear colleague and also collaborator. He is a community leader within his community and also a digital media developer. Jamil Thomas. Thank you, Jamil. The floor is yours, Jamil, the next 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you,
Can we hear
Vicky,
you?
for
The
having
floor
me.
is yours, Jamil.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me? No, can't hear me. Oh my God. Hello? It says I'm connected. Hold on.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can
we
hear
can hear
you.
you, sir. We can hear
All
you.
right, good. Thank you for having me. I'm gonna try to keep it short because I love to talk, but you know, it was interesting. I was looking at Aristotle and he talked about looking at the animals and how they move and how they perceive and how they desire. You know, they continuously to strive for continuous life, and you know, when I look at us and compare to them to us to humanity, you know, we always put ourselves in a hierarchy above the animals, and it was that hierarchy that gives us these concepts, and it breeds kind of narcissistic kind of behavior, you know, which spawns this idea that you saw with the master race, you know, the Nazis putting Jews in concentration camps, and you know, this idea of other, you know, the other, which allows us to reduce human beings to 3/5 and allows us to see human beings as obstacles and ways to slaughter them to get past and then to get past things in the name of progress. You know, the Bible has a concept of what they call Imago Dei, which talk about the image of God. And that makes me think about John Lewis. And you know, when they asked John Lewis, how can he allow the people to do things to him that they did when he was on the Pettus Bridge and him not to respond? And he just replied, I see the divinity in them. And I think that's interesting because we don't see divinity in others, or we don't see the good in others. You know, I think about that famous scripture that I even learned when I was a kid, the John 3:16 scripture, when it talks about God so loved the world that he gave. And, you know, a lot of people focus on the part that Jesus died and suffered for us, you know, when it talks about that scripture. But I think the part that we miss is that he gave. And I think that's the part about humanity that we miss, in the fact that he gave something valuable and he gave something precious. And we focus on the part that he suffered and died for us because that's a narcissistic view, because we want to always put us in the center and still looking at putting others before us. And I think when I think about humanity and I think about the things that I even suffered in my life, what keeps me up at night is that we forget about others. Yes, we suffer. Yes, we go through things on our own individual levels, but what about others? You may only have a loaf of bread, but your neighbor don't have any bread. If you give that neighbor a couple of slices, you are helping out in the name of humanity. And I think that's what we need to focus on more about. Yes, we may not have, you know, a lot, but such as we have, we give. And I think that is more of a idea that we need to ingest and digest as human beings. But I'm gonna leave it at that.
only have a loaf of bread, but your neighbor don't have any bread. Maybe give that neighbor a couple of slices.
Hi, Jamil. Thank you so much. Am I missing anything, Jamil?
No.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that's such a wonderful way to encapsulate giving, from the scripture, John 3:16. And even though we all are from different faiths, and that's why I invited Dr. Ayman, because after this is Miguel, and then Dr. Ayman is actually on a special guest invitation as a speaker today, because I am so inspired by her and her work and her love for people when I interviewed her over like many episodes, Ayman. But before we come to Ayman as the final invited speaker, let's have Miguel Flores from Mexico City. Miguel, always a great colleague, and can always have you with your point of view of humanity and the world. Miguel, the floor is yours.
All right. First of all, I wanna say thank you for the space invitation. It's such a big. I'm serious when I speak to Vicky about this. It's a huge honor. I mean, I was so pumped up that I cannot even talk straight, because it's just such a beautiful speech, and all the things that you have to say, guys. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I get all the energy from you guys from here in Mexico City. I want to sell all the energy to you guys, because oh my God, I feel so good about this. Yes, I understand that this is not exactly the best, one of the best moments in human history because of the pandemic and stuff. But well, starting with my speech, and thank you for the space once again. One of the things I would like to say is that I suck at giving speeches. I normally want to improvise a lot more, because that's how I feel it. And the energy that sometimes I get from all the people speaking about community, speaking about giving to others, speaking about how we can help each other, even though we're in completely different parts of the world. It's one of the things that keeps me motivated. It keeps me going every single night, because the only way we can overcome this, in my perspective, is if we can all work together. I understand that we may have a lot of differences, a lot of opinions, and all of them may crash. Since I am not exactly a religious person, even though I am in one of the most Catholic countries in the world, right? But I love hearing everybody and listening to everybody, and I love learning from everybody. Everybody's perspective has given me such a unique perspective of how to approach things and how to prepare and do the things that I do. And my job, I'm just a humble English teacher here in Mexico City that somehow sneak into this this group of people that are so important in their communities, and so big, and their names are just amazing. And I'm like, dude, I'm just an English teacher in Mexico. What the hell am I doing here? But I don't know, sharing this perspective from a person like myself, like, I don't know, I think I share the situation of being in a humble place. I understand Mexico is not exactly one of the richest countries in the world, but well, we're neighbors in the US, so hey, neighbor, send us something, man. We're your boys. We hear you. We love you guys. I don't know. Listen to the rest of you guys. For example, when I first met Vicky, I had no idea what to expect. I got to say, and I got to say that. But once we talked, and I have to apologize. I want to apologize, and I want to do it in front of you guys, because I missed her for a couple of weeks. Well, I'm proud to say that I am a COVID survivor. I was fighting there in Mexico in general. The way we are treating COVID is not exactly the best, but as a community, as a society, it's a cultural thing. It's just a Mexicans thing. Don't worry, we'll be fine. But once we see the numbers, it's like, oh, bro, it's not gonna be such okay. But well, unfortunately, we have to go through that here in Mexico. But sharing that experience, watching it from the perspective of, I understand all the people that has gone through the front lines, and they are right there, fighting this thing and encouraging people to move on, and I felt like, okay, I have something to do here. I mean, I was in the middle of my job. I just went to the supermarket. 2 weeks later, you're in the hospital. Oh my God, what's going on here? It's not exactly the best time. And my daughter was like crying because she immediately said, "Oh my God, my dad is gonna die! Oh my God, this is it." And not even able to say something to her in person, just in the Pandora box, just to have a little communication to say for 5 minutes every day, "Hey, babe, don't worry, I'm gonna be fine, okay? Your daddy's strong, and this is just something that has to happen. If I have to go, remember that I love you, but I'm gonna do all my best that doesn't happen." I've been able to share that experience. I'm able to share it with you guys. I'm real thankful for that, for the opportunity. And thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to listen to all of you guys, listen to you with Vicky. It's always something that I really love to do. I know that I owe Vicky a lot of time on your show. So thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a real pleasure. And remember, if you really want a friend or you really want somebody here in Mexico City, I'm your guy. Somebody here in Mexico City, I'm your guy.
Thank you so much, Miguel. And that's the energy I get from you, from a COVID survivor. I can't believe it. Let's thank him so much. And we will have this interaction a little bit later on at the panel. Let's welcome Dr. Ayman all the way from Pakistan. Can you imagine? We are here in Singapore, different parts of America, the largest country in the world. And then we have Mexico and also Ayman from Pakistan there. And Ayman's dad is also a COVID survivor, and she told her story, very touching story, how the family came together at the final moment, whereby really at the jaws of death, they saved the dad in the hospital. It is such a moving story in our February special when Ayman was one of my co-hosts for the show. And I think Miguel was there too. We were like riveting for Ayman and her dad. So Ayman, the floor is yours all the way from Pakistan. Ayman, the floor is yours. Hello.
Hi, how are you? Thank you, Vicky, for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to meet you all. Currently, I'm not in Pakistan, I'm in Turkey. I'm ethnically half Pakistani and half Arab. So I'm a healthcare consultant and I was in frontline working for COVID. I'm also a life coach, and when I talk about things concerning me right now, is I am a life coach for professional women, especially in healthcare, and I work with them. Currently, it's not a very good situation. 18 months into pandemic, and the women I work are from Muslim communities. So we already know there are a lot of problems of women working there. We have a lot of people who are very liberated. We have women who have very good professional ethics and they're working in field. But there are women that I've been working with that does not share the same privilege that I or other Muslim women might be having at this time. And the biggest problem we are having this time is 18 months into pandemic, and these women are being abused from their partner, from their families, and they have nowhere to go because most of the time they're in a situation where they are not able to maintain their job because they were women. So they were laid off from their jobs more easily than men. They were already being paid less, so they do not have much to support themselves. And then they are in a situation where they are not able to leave their homes because they're in lockdown. So there's nowhere to go, nowhere to ask, and there's no help actually. Because some of them might be in societies which are very misogynist. And this concerns me a lot. I guess this is one of the things that we talk less. It's one of the taboos to talk about in society, because if you say so, you might be a black sheep in your community, right? And this is the thing that we need to talk more. We have been working on certain projects to get allowances, to get grants, but when we have this huge pandemic going around the world, not a lot of government are focusing on this fact. Like there might be few government who might give grants for women who are in domestic violence, but they might be from so developed countries that they see this problem. But when you come to a lot of third world countries or underdeveloped countries, sorry, mind my language, I wouldn't say third world countries, but actually underdeveloped countries, where it's not seen a problem because it's considered something cultural. Mostly in Asian countries, these women are in a very poor situation. So my only concern is to get them help, to get them grants, to get them out of the situation, because we never know. This pandemic is going to end, but the problem is a lot of these women are not going to survive. A lot of these women are not going to be even alive after this pandemic because they are in such crucial positions. So yeah, that is my only concern these days. And I wish and I pray that we might be able to get a lot of help for these people. People from my community come along, see this situation as threatening for these women, and we get all the help that's needed to support these women in these situations. Yeah, that's my word. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayman. I think everyone has brought very different issues that keep them up at night. And I just want to reiterate that, this is a very special event. We may not be able to solve some of the problems, but I think we are showing the world that we can come together and we can start putting light, showing light that these are the problems. When we start showing light that these are the problems, hey, people will start to give help. And if we don't tell people our problem and we keep it inside, I think include either as an individual, as a family, as a community, I think we have to start conversations. And with that, thank you everyone for your talk. We would like to start the panel discussion according to our schedule. And because it's just a 20-minute discussion, I hope everyone participate, and then each and everyone is given a chance to ask one other individual your thought or your question. Now, I'm just going to make this different because you are the people here. I'm just a facilitator. I would hope that all of you ask one question to one speaker, one participant about their issue. So I'm just going to make it very different. I'm here as a facilitator, but even before we start, CJ is going to be the person who's going to open the panel with an opening speech. But I also would like to share my thoughts about 30 seconds, not to take up too much of your time. What keeps me up at night? Jobs. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Jobs are important for the next generation, and we don't have meaningful jobs enough already because of the pandemic, and also because if you look at the last 10 years, MNCs, multinational corporations, are all making their workers redundant because of robotics. Not only because of that, but because of M&A, because the world is maturing in terms of the growth of economies. We're looking at Siemens, who actually retrenched over 100,000 because they actually employed 500,000 people around the world. We're talking about Siemens Corporation. We're talking about banks like HSBC, who's retrenching another thousands and thousands of people. We're talking about shops, retails that have closed their doors. We're talking about cashiers that have no more jobs. We're talking about people who work in the supermarkets. They have no more jobs. Where do they go? They don't have a voice like us, like podcasters or people who are out there. So with our privileged lives, I think this conversation is very important. The thing about all these companies have closed, Mango, Zara, I mean, look at all these American retailers, hundreds and thousands of them closed the shops. And not only that happens in America, it happens in Singapore. If it happens in Singapore, it happens in America, it means it happens in elsewhere. So if you're a breadwinner, you took back home that $1,000, but now suddenly you have no more. What do? You dig your wallet and you've only got $10 left, and you've got your child to feed, you've got your wife, you've got your husband, you have got your parents, and before you even feed yourself, what about the bills? What about the water? So I'm really looking at this humanitarian issue on a ground level, whereby these are the people without a voice because they're not podcasters. They're the mothers, they're the hawkers, they're people in the street trying to peddle a trade. I'm looking at these are the real human beings, and we are living in such a privilege. I mean, I'm saying that we are not the Elon Musk, for sure. We are not the Amazon, for sure, right? And because of that, we do count our blessings, but not forgetting there are people who are at that poverty line, and the pandemic data have shown, right? The pandemic has actually increased about 50% of people down the poverty line, and middle class is squashed That's the truth. Whether in America, in Singapore, or around the world, the middle class is being squashed and is further being squashed and accelerated in the pandemic. So for me, it's just jobs, meaningful jobs for young people. And if they don't find meaning, what happens? People seek violence, and we will be seeing a wave of violence throughout the years when young people find they become hopeless, that their skills are not being excavated. They do not have any dreams to chase. So that is something that we're seeing the world is going from the growth of the 1980s and the 1990s, where the world is accelerating its growth. Jobs are being created, but now you're seeing in the 2000, the millennium, whereby jobs are being crushed because of M&A, mergers and acquisitions. Companies are actually utilizing robotics. So I will throw this question to you, ladies and gentlemen. What keeps you up at night? And I would like to have you ask one individual one question, starting from our dear chairperson, our chairwoman, CJ, the floor is yours as the opening speaker for the panel. And then throw a question at either of them. Then we'll throw the ball.
Thank you so much, Vicki.
That's
And thank
welcome,
you.
CJ.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your stories today. I just want to say that one rock starts a ripple in a pond. And what you started today is that conversation that can change the world. We don't have to wait on policymakers. We don't have to wait on people in governments to make that change. It is the ordinary people with the extraordinary spirits that can make that change. So today, as we are talking to each other and we are asking those questions, we're going to learn more of how we can affect change across the world, not just in our corner. So my question is for Dr. Amin. I hope I'm saying that correctly. My question is, one of the things I did not realize, I knew that in different cultures and different countries, women are oppressed based on, it could be culture, it could be their society. I didn't realize that with the pandemic, that being behind the closed doors was making it even harder. So what can we do as other cultures and other countries to possibly help assist some of that?
Thank you so much, CJ. And that's a really important question to ask. I think at this moment, most important thing is to just ask. If you have a neighbor who is a woman from a Muslim community, if you see that she's not showing much with her children, you see there has been problem with her family. Like, you know, our neighborhoods are close. When we live in society, like especially, I don't know where you belong from, but if you live in US maybe, or UK, or any of these countries, you know your neighborhood. Simply ask for help. Ask them what they do need. Like, have conversation with them. Ask about what their problems are right now. I think starting a conversation is the best thing to do right now. Before, we didn't have much space for conversation because we were so equipped in our life that we thought we didn't have time. But pandemic taught us there are so many problems which we need to see that we didn't thought it was important before, right? And one of it is to take care of the other humans that are around us. So just starting a basic conversation with a woman in headscarf, just having a normal conversation with a woman who is going with her children about her daily life, what she has been doing, what her problem might be, how she's taking life. I think these are the good starters that we can start from now, and then it will continue to a lot of things.
Thank you very much. I will definitely start doing that more as I'm out and about in my community. Do you have a question for anybody on the panel?
Yeah, I will ask Dr. Mubi. I think it's one of the ethnicity that I share. How has been things in your community with the women that are working professionally? And how do you think that we can create an environment for the women that are in healthcare to reach out to their male colleague for the help that we have been thinking that they should have in the system? And while now they are the frontline worker, how you can support, or how the male colleagues can support their female counterpart in the field right these days?
Yeah, can Dr. Ayman throw a question at someone?
Let me first unmute. Thank you, Dr. Ayman. And that's true, we share a lot in common and with everyone too. But I think this is a common question everywhere, also in US and everywhere. You know, healthcare workers and first responders, I mean, it's unbelievable that, you know, they're working day and night, whether it's male or female. Lot are, I think, male anyways, but because of the ratio proportion we have at the hospital, it depends also because a lot of staff, I would say nurses are female mostly, and then there are lot and they're doing actually the best job, I would say, because they are the really going after each patient. And I mean, we round and we write orders, but they, you know, we are there too, but they are the one actually clean and suck, put on oxygen, you know, if they are on ventilator, they are the one going to clean every time. They are the one going to restrain them. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. So what we can do is support them not only emotionally and also encourage. So when I am rounding in the hospital, I make sure I kind of even stop by at my, you know, anyone, even who is cleaning the room. I say, yeah, you're doing phenomenal job. Tell me what can we do for you, or at least encouragement, at least, and that is the minimum thing anyone can do, and we should all do. By the way, that actually motivates me too, because you know, I get exhausted, but when I talk to them, I say, why, you are working 12 hours nonstop, and you know, and you get paid very less. As doctor, I get paid more, but you know, you have the strength to keep going more and more, and you are my strength. So everybody asks me, who is your hero? And I say, you are my hero. You know, every con person over there, or we are all same. So you are the one actually gives me strength. So that's true. The nurses, the doctors, and everybody, you know. So best thing we can do is support and make sure if they didn't eat anything, you know, I give them, even, you know, order something if I can. So we have to look out for each other, whatever situation is, and that's where we should start anything. You know, what else we can do? I would say also, you know, at around neighborhood, we can do same thing. And the same thing we should definitely do for anyone who is, you know, at least if you can go, just give them a call and pick up the phone and just give them a call and say, by the way, how you're doing? I mean, those words mean a lot. You know, many times I call my male or female colleague and just say, you know, I'm just checking. I didn't hear from you are you okay? I think those are the one that really can make a difference. And, you know, it is sad for, you know, that we are, you know, physically separated, that's true, but we shouldn't be socially kind of, I think it's the wrong term. I would always say that social is physically you can be separated 6 feet or more, but, you know, don't be emotionally separated. So, you know, that is what I think we should do. Dr. Ayman, do you have any?
Hi, there is a lag on my side. Would Dr. Moby throw a question at someone at the issue that?
Yeah, I will ask Annette. Hi, Annette. Hi, Annette. How is with pediatric or kids with mental health? What are you seeing with COVID? I think we can't hear her. The audio.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm seeing, teenagers are struggling to learn how to voice their feelings. And just even when we just moved to Texas from Virginia, and in Virginia, my son's school, there was a 16-year-old who took her life because no one knew what she was feeling on the inside. She was this very vibrant girl who played I don't remember, some instrument, and played sports and all these things, and no one knew what that she was struggling. And I've seen it with just the teenagers, the youth that don't know how to do it, the pressures of school, the pressures of life. It's just very sad. So and that's why I feel it's so important to teach our kids that it's okay to talk about it, but they just don't know how. No one knew.
Yeah, Annette, is there anything you would like to add? And,
I
is there
just
a question you would like to throw to someone here?
Miguel, over there in Mexico City, I'm curious to see how the mental health is over there, because you told us, Vicky, in Singapore that it's the suicide rates are very high, and it just breaks my heart. How is it in Mexico City, and how is it being dealt with?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for the question. Here in Mexico, well, that's why I was saying it's a little bit different, especially because it has to do, it is more like a cultural thing, It's very difficult for a person just to open up to people in general, because how can I say this? It's not the way we do it. That we understand that we have to do something different here, but I don't know, it's like we have endured a lot of things. A disease is not going to kill us. But I understand that that's not how everybody feels about it. But considering that the society that I am in, it's not like we don't want to listen to you. I mean, you should see all the way we do it in our parties, and with 3 or 4 beers and shots of tequila inside of us, and we're like, dude, I'm in love with you. But that's the only way we are gonna be open completely. I understand it's not the best comment, and it's not the best look for my country, but well, that's what we got here, right? But it's just that, like, being so open here is difficult, but that's because of, how can I say this? We prefer to do it like, okay, if I have something, I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it. I don't know. I'm gonna get an activity. Like, for example, in my case, I continue with my podcast. I have a comic book show on weekends. I also continue teaching because I cannot just stop. Okay, I was in the hospital. It was not exactly the best experience in life, especially when you are in a hospital that is crowded with people. Social distancing is just it's just a concept, because, well, you have the hospitals are full capacity in the country completely. I mean, there's no more space for anybody here. So if you're not lucky enough to get into a hospital, and I quote it, you must pay for the treatment outside. It's not a cheap treatment. And that's one of the first things we have to deal with. What happens if we go through, okay, if we went to the hospital, fortunately, government gave us a hand. But if we didn't, dude, we spent so much money on the treatment. What are we going to do? So you have to start working. Basically, there's very little time for us to say, let's talk about it. No, it's more like we have to do something about it and deal with it while we're working on it, on something. I don't know. What I do is every student asks me about how it felt. That is a help, but for me. I understand not everybody has the same situation. So it's more like I'm working and I'm, having a guy in front out in, I don't know, like 2 feet away from you saying, hey, dude, how do you feel? Well, you know, just same old, same old. That's why I have to wear the mask. Oh, well, okay. And the doctor tell you something or anything or whatever? Well, just to be careful. I'll stay away just a little bit. You're too close. Yeah, don't worry, man. I got it. I got it. And that's how we deal with it. I mean, psychological support, professionally speaking, it's just a mere option for a lot of people in my country. It's something only rich people can afford. As a community, we have to help ourselves, you know? And yes, we are not psychologists. We're not experts. We don't know how to do it, but as long as, because that's the other thing that we have, as long as you can talk to me and say, I don't know, for whatever reason you said, dude, I have something. First thing that we're going to say is, okay, bring it up. What's it? Or what's up? Ah, well, it's this, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, the sensation that you had in the hospital, you know, you're scared those 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks, you're completely scared. Then you have the thing, the plastic thing in your face, you know, just sending you the oxygen. And you're thinking, oh my God, this is it, this is it, this is it. Because you see all the people going up, you know, it's very hard, but it's more like, forget about the psychologists. We help each other as a community, you know? That was so much. I said a lot just to go there. Oh my God, it could have been so easier. Oh, I'm sorry. Please say hello to psychologists for me.
It makes me sad that you said that only rich people can get the help that they need. Because that's, you know, that's almost like it is here too. It's like that people can't afford it. They can't afford to get help, so they just try to deal with it on their own. And
Exactly.
in my culture too, you know, I'm Peruvian, so we didn't talk about things either. And it was only when we were, or when my parents were drinking, or whoever was drinking, is when the feelings came out. So it's, you hold it all in and then you let it out during you know, social time. And it's just like, it's just not, it's not right, like you said, but it's just how we dealt with it. That's just what you do. And I know as a country, or all the, you know, your country, my country, we all need to fix that. We're just trying to figure out how.
That's the, maybe I'm just gonna add a little bit to my comment is what are the, and I guess it also has to do with something that a bunch of you guys were saying. Sometimes we cannot depend on somebody else to do the job. You know, okay, I understand here in Mexico, the thing about looking for psychological help. Okay, maybe I cannot afford it. I have to do something about it. I understand that I have to do something about it because, okay, it was a little bit traumatic to be in that hospital, to be honest with you. Yeah, you know, because I thought I was this close of saying, you know what, tell my kid that I love her, send her all the blessings, God bless you all, see you in the next life. I was like 2 days from that. I was scared to death, you know. And having friends, talking to somebody, to the community, that's why I want to bring it up a lot. Having communities, like for example, like this. Yes, we're in different parts of the world, but for example, I consider Vicky one of my best friends, and even we're on the opposite side of the world. You know, I mean, there's a huge difference. She's in her show and she's talking to me, and when I have a participation there, it's like, oh yeah, it's 6:30 in the morning, but hey, we're good. Here in Mexico, it's not even the sun out, but well, here we are. And let me get a coffee, you know. But that's the thing,
All right.
you know. Sometimes.
Thank you so much, Miguel.
I know. I'm sorry.
Question to throw at someone. Could you throw a question to someone who has never been asked yet? Because time is of the essence, and we are like late. But you know, this is so important to us. We have so little opportunity for us to face each other. I mean, I really treasure and appreciate. Miguel, could you throw a question quickly?
Oh my God. Basically, I would like to make a question to Mr. Jermel. When you mention about community, how would you like to approach people to your community to say, hey, there's a space for you. We're here for you. How would you approach those people that maybe don't feel as a part of that community, that need a little bit of that help?
One of the things that I do is I use my platform to do that. you know, with the podcast, the radio station. And with that, we discuss issues, and sometimes they're issues that a lot of people don't want to discuss. And I use that to reach people in the community. Um, in social gatherings, I'm just a upfront, blunt type of person. So I would just come up to them and just really just and ask. So I think a lot of times I notice that people want you to say something, but at the same time, they don't know how to approach you to say they want you to say something. So a lot of times I'll just start a conversation, you know. Um, but that's one of the main reasons why I started my platform, so I can reach people who doesn't have a voice or who doesn't know how to use the voice that they have. And I think that's why it's important to me to speak out for those people and to touch and speak on different issues that you know, a lot of people don't like to talk about in society and families, you know, in any kind of situations. So that's kind of how I approach it.
Thank you, sir. That was pretty good.
Thank you. My question is for Ralph. I know Ralph, I heard you say you was in the military, and I used to work in law enforcement, so I kind of understand some of the issues of being in the military. But being in a position of authority in the military, how did COVID affect the way you lead? Because I know, like, a lot of times for me, when I heard about COVID, I had a lot of different things going through my mind. You know, some was fear.
Hi, Jamil, would you like to throw a question?
Yes.
Jamil, would you like to throw a question?
Yeah. My question is to Ralph. Ralph, I know you're in the military. I worked in law enforcement, so I kind of understand how it is to be in the military. Being in a position of leadership, how does COVID affect the way you lead? You know, with COVID, there's a lot of scary things going on, and sometimes you can be in a position of fear, I guess, for lack of better words, and still have to lead. How does that affect your leader? How did that affect your leadership in a pandemic?
So thanks for this question, Jamel. I retired in 2018.
Okay.
So the pandemic never really hit, but I still check on the guys I used to lead, making sure they're okay. You know, ask how their family's doing, or if I have a side hustle that does resumes. I have friends that are in the civil service positions now. I say, hey, do you have a person that can help this guy out? I try to network all of them or help them with their resumes. But just caring about them, you know, I'd say, hey, these stripes are for you. They're not for me. You know, I'm willing to lose these stripes for you. So, and that's how I looked at my stripes. I never looked at it as me. Every time my troops had issues, I'd physically go down there to the office where they would have issues with, because I did have the authority, and tell them, hey, what's going on with my troop? She's been dealing with this for 2 weeks now, right? So it's a crazy thing with this rank, because it has a lot of power for some reason, because my troop was taken care of within 24 hours. It was weird, you know, so, but it was, and I always told my troops, you take care of me, I take care of you. You know, if you work hard for me, I take care of you, no matter what it is. And I even had a troop that had a DUI. I tried to kick him out. And I told him, hey, you worked hard for me, I'll stand up for you. He's a master sergeant now still in the Air Force. And this was in 2003 or 2004. He just made master sergeant in the Air Force. So yeah, for me, even with or without the pandemic, I think it's still the same. You still got to check on your guys. You still got to be there for them, not just during duty hours, but check on them off duty hours. You know, something might be going on with them. See how their emotions are when they talk to you, or how they react during work, because you want to make sure they're good at home, so the mission is good. Because if they're not good at home, the mission is not good.
That's good. That's good. I like that. That's great.
I guess I'll pass my question on to, I don't know how you say it, Siu Min Ko. I noticed you said something about Asian men having, you know, in the Asian culture, men have to have this facade as a father, as a man, right? I've been blessed to live in America, but at the same time, I have Asian roots because I'm Filipino, and with the Filipino roots, there's a lot of Latin influence in there too. So it's you know, and those three cultures, we do have that culture of that facade. How do you think we could resolve that and be more open to each other and help each other out and be more of a team than the man being, you know, in the culture being here, and the woman kind of like not below them, but have support them being submissive if they want to be that way, but also support them if they want to be a strong woman.
Thank you, Ralph, for the question. Yeah, I come from a family where my father is Chinese, my mom is Chinese, and you know, my father brings the bread to the table, and therefore he has to be the strong one. Yeah. But I think when it comes to my generation, and because I come from a Christian background, we know that the man is the head of the family, but the wife is the helper, the soulmate, you know, behind the man, cooperating with each other so that they can bring up the family in the knowledge of God, and as well as a healthy family. And despite that, you know, because my family, I was the first generation Christian, and thank God my father came to know the Lord as well. But it takes a bit of a change, like what Miguel mentioned, the culture. It takes generations really to change. Yeah. So your question for me was how to bridge this. I think we have come to the next generation. My boys are 23 and 21. Yeah, and because it takes a family and a village to raise a child, this millennial group, I think, has reached a point whereby I can see that in my boys. They are 23, 21. They respect their girlfriends. They no longer, at least it didn't occur to them that they are of a higher hierarchy compared to their female counterparts, which I'm very glad. Yeah, you know, and before I came on this show, I spoke to my son. I said that, you know, in Singapore, we are all trying to be entrepreneurs during this difficult time because we lose our job as an employee. And if I build the business up, you know, would you like to take over my business? And he said, hey, we should be given a choice. We should be given a choice. We should be listened to. Yeah, so I think we are now less gender sensitive. Yeah, and I'm glad that, you know, when all converge with God's teaching, we all have a role to play. The gap is narrowing. Yeah. You know, I'm glad you shared with me that you come from a very diverse background. I think this is the era whereby we have what I call a fusion. And that's really very good. We're trying to get the best of both world or many worlds. Yeah. Thank you for that question. So I suppose, Vicky, I can ask Mr. Liu. Yeah, I remember, Eden, you were talking about Mr. Liu. Yes, climate change. You know, I'm just wondering, maybe you could give me some tips, because in my life, in my role, not only as a lecturer, as a seminar speaker, as a mom, and as a very sociable person who likes to mix with the community, as a role, as a lecturer, I know my school equipped me by sending me for extra classes on counseling, you know, so that I can share and infuse this knowledge while I transfer knowledge for academic. I'm just wondering, maybe you could give me some tips how I can instill this awareness about the concern for climate change, because it's really a threat. I'm feeling the sweat every night. You know, I have to turn on the aircon. The weather has been bad. Yeah, over to you. Thank you, Eden.
I guess the issue is not the issue. I think you have a great opportunity because you reach out to many people through your university and your training program and so on and so forth. And I think we really need to spread this important message to people that we got to solve this climate change problem. For example, Singapore is talking about vehicle electrification, and I think we are not doing it as fast as we should, but yet for a country like Singapore, we are small. Vehicle electrification is very simple because you don't have to travel very far, because for those who do not know, from one end of Singapore to the other is only about 40 kilometers. If you keep the car charged at night, next day you can use it the whole day, so there are solutions. It's just that we need more people to start hammering at the agencies, the authority, because the climate change issue is a big issue involving companies, involving people, involving policies and things like that. So we really need to solve this problem, but people have to push the authorities to do better at setting targets, and therefore messaging down to the students, to the professionals, I think is very, very important as far as I can see. Okay, I throw the question back to, I hope I answered the question. Vicky, yeah, you are also in the education business because I was involved with you in vocational education, and now you're educating the world in some sense. How do you find this change, and what would be your major objective be? Yeah. Vicky, got it? The question is, you were formerly in vocational education, correct? And educating the young, but now you are now educating the old ones like us or like me. So how do you find this change, and what would your emphasis be in this situation? Yeah. Got it?
That question is posed to who, Eden?
To you, Vicky.
Oh,
you.
to me.
Yes, because you were with me together in vocational school. Oh, sorry. Yeah. We were together in the vocational school, and so that's why I know Vicky well. And now she has moved on to other areas and into this internet sort of educational business, so-called. Yeah.
Okay, if I get the question correct, because I'm actually a little bit lag here.
Yeah.
I do see, I think your question, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You are actually saying, how do I see the next generation in terms of educating them? Am I right?
No, in the involvement in education. Yeah. I mean, it's a different kind of education. You got a class of youth.
Yes. Okay.
There's a different from trying to educate all of us
on that. So the next 3 days is never enough for me.
Oh, okay. Just one sentence.
So I'm just going to say my part very quickly. I'm an educator myself. I've been teaching for 20 years in the polytechnics. My passion, I call myself a teacher because in an Asian society, the word teacher has a higher authority and respect in Asian culture over and above parents, because the amount of time you can sit in with a student in that class, so much more than a teacher, a student, a kid with their parents, because their parents will say, okay, what do you want to eat? What do you want to buy? But a teacher has so much more influence on the students. So in a very Eastern context, teachers have a huge respect in the society, and I grew up having teachers that are very strict, and I thank them. You know, I came from a very traditional school whereby I need to bow down 90 degrees when I meet a teacher and say, in China, because I came from a very traditional Chinese school, I have to bow down and I say, hello, teacher, how are you, in my language. And I literally have to do that. It's a very strict school. And I think discipline is imbued in me. Therefore, I do something like this in a very short time because of the amount of discipline. Having said discipline, and also the cultural context of a teacher having a big, huge influence on a student, I think the other responsibilities on a teacher in imparting right principles and right values when you walk into a class. But having said that, I would like to say, I think in our society, in the Singapore context, we like the students to become compliant too much. We don't like the students to question. We don't like the students to raise their hands. We don't like the student to be different. And I find it very, very hard for myself, and in the context of Asia, probably in South Asia, also in many, many parts of the Asian society, whereby you are asked to work hard and not to raise your voice and not to raise your hands. And that actually impedes creativity when you grow up. So we are actually a society of people who are so academically superb in Singapore. We rank #1 in OECD countries in maths, science, language for 15-year-olds. However, when we come to the real society, we lose out because students are coming into a real world whereby you need to be creative, you need to be survival, and you need to have that mental strength, like what Annette is promoting so strongly about. But we have actually built a whole generation of people that do not question, that do not dare to raise their voice, and that do not have a critical thinking. That is something very, very dangerous for the next millennium, because we are looking at a society of people, a whole generation of people. I'm talking about my context, okay? It would be different from other places like in Europe, in America, definitely are different. But in my context, I think when I try to raise a voice in a school, I'm being beaten down in the class, literally. And because I'm being beaten down when I grow up, I have self-censorship. And I think Dr. Moby knows this a lot, because I'm so afraid of speaking. Because I've been beaten down in a school context, because I've been asked to be disciplined, I've been asked to deliver, I've been asked to excel, but I've been asked to keep quiet and shut your mouth up. You see, so this is a totally different context. But I think in the world right now, we need them to thrive and survive in a world whereby it is disrupted anytime. You are disrupted by technology, you're disrupted by the pandemic, you're disrupted by the neighbors. And before you know it, your income is being disrupted. We need to have a next generation of people. To me, it's so important, this dialogue. To actually grow a next generation of people who have that social responsibility to take care of their neighbors, take care of themselves, take care of their parents, and not leave the parents out there in the cold. To me, it is a no-no, okay? So take care of someone is so important, to have that self-responsibility, social responsibility, and also to have education, but also have the voice to, the voice that makes use of a voice in a positive, edifying, encouraging manner. I think that's very important. I think we lack that part about social responsibility and about not leaving people out in the cold. And I think the pandemic actually exacerbated and manifested in Singapore, because during the pandemic, a lot of people, like the sole income winner in a home, maybe the dad was a taxi driver. And when the dad, when there's a lockdown, what do taxi drivers do? They have no jobs. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, there are people out there suffering. And I keep saying that we must never forget. What about the taxi drivers? What about the shopkeepers, right? What about the cashiers? What about the store, retail, the one who's in the store, right? Working in the store, and the shops are all closed and the jobs are being retrenched. So I think we need to have this generation of people who are creative and watch out for each other and not beating them down, because I think the world, the democratization of technology I've shown, like Dr. Moby is doing, and what myself and what CJ is doing, and what Jamil and Miguel we're doing as podcasters. The democratization of technology has given us so much power. That's why we're able to do this. And it fascinates me to bring all of you, because it's about using technology in a positive way to encourage and to give back to humanity, to give back to your friends that you don't even know and you don't even see. That's why I put Iman in, because in our conversation in February and also in December, she touched me with her episode, her interview. And I thought that she's someone that I need to work with and to show the world that amongst differences and amongst the vast ocean, we can work together and we can be good colleagues. And let's do this more often. Thank you so much, Eden, for that conversation. I think the next generation, the new millennials, because they've got the power of Instagram, YouTube, are they using it in the right manner? That keeps me up, right? And jobs, meaningful jobs for them. And I think the educational system has to revolutionize in such a way that people must, number one, be educated as humanitarian first before mathematics and science. So I've got a question to CJ. I know CJ is one of the top podcasters for authors, the premier destination, the Author's Porch. And with CJ's contribution, this is possible with her, and also with Dr. Moby. This is possible because it's going to be promoted in a way that, like what I say, each of us have certain strength. I'm not an influencer, and I know that I don't look and sound good on television. I'd rather be someone at the back and doing something creative for everyone to pull our resources together. I think if we think of hard enough, where is my SWOT analysis? Where's my weakness? Where's my threat? But where's the opportunity and the strength? Let's align all of us together. And I think the world is a better place. My question to CJ is, do you see in your lifetime, humanity is going to go divergent? Or it's going to come together, looking at vaxxers, anti-vaxxers, maskers, non-maskers, policies, power in governments, and then people with less say in the pandemic? I don't know. It's an open question. So CJ, take it away. Is humanity going to come together, love each other, understand the differences, and accept differences, or the world is going to go divergent? Big question to CJ. The floor is yours, CJ.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, Vicky, because I am, in the core of who I am, a humanist. I am not, a lot of people will call themselves nationalists. Some people will call themselves other things, excuse me. I call myself a humanist. I believe in the human spirit. I believe in humanity. And I truly believe in what we are building here, not only in this forum, but around the world, and how technology has brought us together, and it will unite us. I believe that we will be united together in what we have found in the extraordinary talents of people all over the globe. So while there will be the outliers that will try to separate us, I think that we were ultimately always meant to be together. And no matter what evil will try to separate us, it will never happen, because humanity will prevail above all.
Mm.
Can I throw this question, if ladies and gentlemen, if you are okay, can I throw this question to everyone? Do you think in your gut, okay, do you think the world, in your world, I'm talking about in your community, we don't know that for the whole world, but in your community, do you think it's going to converge or diverge? Or is there a chance on either way? And what's your hope for the world? Anyone, can you take the question as the final question for the panel discussion? Anyone? Dr. Moby, please.
Yes, and I think it's a beautiful thought, and I would just again encourage everybody to, there are a lot of ways which we have seen over the world, and a world is very similar in a way. People try to do politics and try to divide us and try to say we are this and we should. I always tell them, yes, you can do that way also, that there is always more than one way of doing things, and you can reach somewhere, but you reach higher ground and you reach much more if you are together and you put all the brains and every effort together. Then we all will be united, not only united, but we'll really conquer a lot of things. We will conquer poverty, we will conquer pandemic, we will be we should have human religion first, and which is, by the way, backbone of every religion. It doesn't matter what your religion is, if you don't have that backbone, then I'm afraid you are reading only the chapters, you're not understanding the religion. So every religion, the backbone is humanity. And so it is very, very important that you should pay attention to that. I have hope. The reason I have hope, look at all of us. We are all from different parts as well as different backgrounds, but look where we are, how we got united. So when we can unite, I have hope that one day we will see this channel, this platform, this type of effort is going to make a big difference. Nobody started with big organization or anything. Every successful organization or platform or anything starts with few good and sincere effort and people, and that's what is going to happen this time too.
I agree. I like to piggyback up what Dr. Mobley said. I like what he said, and I agree with that. I always tell the story. I remember, if anybody know anything about Michigan, it's a very segregated place, very segregated. And I started off being a machinist, and they moved our company like an hour outside of the city of Detroit. And I was the only Black guy there in the shop. And so I went into that place with preconceived notions of what people are going to think, how people's going to act, what people's going to say, how all these different ways, how the scenario is going to play out. And as I got to really get to know the people there and talk to them, I saw there was really no difference. Everybody was there trying to take care of their family. Everybody had the same issues and trying to do the same things. And that taught me something. That showed me that we are segregated because we don't communicate. We don't talk amongst each other. We don't really, we go by what we see from the media and from different stories we hear, different stereotypes and things like that, but we don't actually sit down and have conversations. And I think what we're doing here is one way we can continue moving that forward, having conversations, because conversation break down walls, stereotypes, and different things that people have assumed about others. And I think that's great what Dr. Mobley said. And I just wanted to piggyback off of that. And I think that's where we move into, especially with social media. Look what we're doing now. We're talking to people in different parts of the world. So the world is no longer like you on the far east of the world. It's like you way over. You just an app away. You just a phone call away, whatever, and we can just connect and we all together. So I like what you said, Dr. Mobley.
If you allow me, I would like to pick up on what either Dr. Moby and Jermel said about communicating to each other. Once again, I want to say thank you, and I really appreciate the fact that I am invited to this spot because I'm able to communicate with people from all over the world. I mean, look at this. I'm speaking to people I would never imagine in my life. And that's one of the beautiful things. And I just want to add this very quick thing. Even though this may be one of the worst times in the pandemic, one of the things that I've learned, and I tell Vicky all the time, is if we can learn from this how to evolve as a society and as a community, because a lot of people still has to do it or has to be, like, let's get into it, boy. Just communicating with people from all over the world. We're gonna come out of the pandemic when this thing happens, if it ever happens. But when it happens, because I'm sure it's gonna happen, we're gonna be a better society. We're gonna grow even bigger and stronger, and we're gonna communicate a lot more with each other. And this is gonna create bigger bonds, and bonds that are so strong. It's no way that the humanity is going down. Oh, I see all the other way around. We're going up. We're just going through a very difficult time. This is one of the biggest tests of humanity in humanity history. One of the biggest ones, I'm telling you. But we're going to overcome that. And one of the biggest proofs and evidence that I have is the fact that we are all here. We have to do this more often.
Yeah, so if we do this more often, we definitely will go on to Dr. Moby's show, television. So Dr. Moby will be the one that we to. Is there anybody who would like to take on this question? What do you foresee your children's generation? Is it going to be harder, or is it going to be easier for them? Take it away.
Maybe I just want to add that it will probably converge. Just looking at the US Census, the multiracial group from 9 million went up to 30 over million. I thought there will be more multiracial in the USA soon, or in Singapore or in China, whatever. Yeah.
I also want to add that I think this pandemic actually helped us to start a lot more conversation, and we find common grounds. I agree with Miguel. He said that, hey, I'm from Mexico, you're from Singapore, Philippines and everywhere else. But we don't look for the things that divide us. We're here because we have so much in common. And I like the way you reinforce things like start a conversation. We don't know each other. There's so much asymmetry of information because we don't talk. It's like I assume my father wants to be a stern father, and my father thinks that I understand, but I don't until he talks to me. And we had a very good relationship ever since we start talking to each other. And here we are. Make it more often. The common ground actually unites us instead of dividing, and forget about the politics. Throw it away.
Precisely, I think Professor Koh has said rightly about common ground. That's also the other objective of today's event, is about international dialogue on humanity, and also launching this magazine whereby Dr. Moby and Annette are the cover girl and the cover boy of the magazine. It's already launched into the world. And I think that's the start of a conversation. We not be the people with the solutions, but we're the people to bring the light. And when we put our heads together, who knows, we may have the solutions, right? So is there anyone who would like to take on this question? Do you think it's easier or harder for your children, the world? CJ, Annette, Ralph.
Yeah.
Then,
so I think it all depends on the parents teaching their kids about critical thinking, making sure they make the right decisions and not judge other people by what they believe in, but according to how they treat them, their character. So I believe that falls on the parents to teach them that, not the schools, not the society around them. It starts at home, and that's what I believe.
I think for the children, it seemed like it's getting better. I remember with the George Floyd incident, I remember watching how it reached not only here in the United States, but across the world. But when you begin to look at some of the people that's out protesting, they were young people protesting, and it wasn't just, Black people protesting for another Black man. There was everybody out there from all different walks of life, all nationalities protesting about the injustice. And I think that right there was a rainbow of hope to show that with the younger generation, it is getting better, it is moving forward, and it's starting to break down some of those barriers and things like that. So I think when I saw that, that gave me hope.
Yeah, I want to
Oh.
agree with your. Sorry
No,
about that.
please go ahead. Please, ma'am, please go ahead. There was something on my mind, but please go.
I agree with Jamel and I agree with Ralph. So I think that it is the parents' responsibility to give your children those opportunities that are out there and to teach them. I think that because of the conversations that are starting and the openness that is happening in our societies, that children are going to have it better because we couldn't have those conversations when I was younger. Racial stuff was high when I was younger. My children are biracial. Their father is Black, I am white. When the George Foreman thing happened, like Jermel was saying, I looked at my children and I had to have a very candid conversation with them. But when I saw the world stand up and start to do things, when I see people, my husband now is, he's of Mexican descent. We live on the border. We're seeing the border crisis happening. We're seeing the immigrants come across, but the conversation is open. People aren't scared to have those. But when I was younger, we couldn't have those conversations. You couldn't talk certain things. The neighborhood that I grew up in, while it was diverse, people stayed within their racial groups as well. So I think that as long as parents are willing to have the conversation and keep those conversations open with their children, it is going to be easier for those children because the rest of the world wants to have those conversations like us.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as the parents do it, the world is open for it now.
Can we have the next two speakers for 30 seconds because I've taken up 2 hours and I really hope this continues on the 22nd because it's a spillover event. Can we have one speaker for 30 seconds and another speaker for 30 seconds?
I'll go. I agree with what
Can we have the lady first? And then why don't you take it away? Let's have the ladies.
I agree with what CJ just said, because when I was growing up, my father, he was a little racist. But when I joined the military and I was able to be with all types of people, you know, I had to learn on my own, not to see just one color, to see all of them. And my children were born into the military. Their dad, my husband's still serving. So my children were able to see all colors as well. So we taught them to love everybody because that's what we wanted them to see. It didn't matter how we were raised anymore. We wanted them to see everybody for who they are. And I am proud to say that my children have the greatest hearts. My son will give the shirt off his back and the last dollar bill in his wallet to someone who's in need. And it brings tears to my eyes to see that. I'm so proud of them for that. I'm not sure if it had to do with me or, you know, their grandparents or whatever the case is. I'm just proud of who they are now. So I'm the military was definitely something that was good for us, you know, just to teach our children to love everybody. So I agree with how you teach your kids. It is a hard world right now, hard generation for them because of everything else that's going on. But as long as we teach them from within in the house, then they will know how to deal with all the ugliness that's outside of the house.
Do we have a final speaker on this question before we wrap up for the video TV production on this event?
I'll take the talk. I'll do it. I just wanted to say something for
Let's
like 5 minutes.
have Miguel for 15 seconds, and then I
Oh
would
my
like
God.
to hear the oldest gentleman here with the white hair after that, Eden. After,
All right.
because I want to have the one with the most white hair.
Okay, well, it has to be after me, all right? Nah, just kidding. Really quick about I wanted to talk about also what we were bringing last. You know, how we can be open and how we can understand people and how we can, share with love everything we learn. For example, when the situation of Mr. George Floyd happened here in Mexico was like, okay, this happened in the U.S., but like, well, just another thing that happened in the United States. Here in Mexico, that's how it was shown to us. But suddenly my daughter found on the internet, she was 10 in that moment, and she found it on internet, the complete video. And when she finished, she went to me, she was crying, like, why are they doing that to him? He was not doing anything. I mean, why is that happening? Well, because that's the way I responded. But oh my God, I have nothing to say. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but how do you explain that there are some people in some parts that may not be exactly doing what they have, what they're doing. It's just that people that maybe didn't want to listen to the guy. Imagine how hard and how shocking for somebody. She is still very impressed about it, even though it happened a little bit a while ago. And that's why I was telling her, and wrapping up everything what we said about telling our kids how the things are now, teaching them that with love you can listen to anybody and you can learn from a lot of people, because you don't want things like that to happen. We saw it. We see it also here in Mexico. We see it a lot. We are just starting to be a little bit more vocal about it. It's not as huge as, for example, what happened back in the US, but it's something we need to learn, and we are learning. Okay, it's something that I see that's going on in the US, but I also see that it's going on here in Mexico. When we see something, we start raising our voice, because that's something we also need to do. It's just I don't need you to listen. You will listen to me. Sometimes we just have to step in. It's not the right way sometimes, but
we will have another show on the 22nd of August whereby Miguel is also invited. Miguel, you're going to be on the 22nd because you are in one of our panel for the 22nd. A final speaker for this question, Eden, the one with the white hair who's fought a lot of battles. I think let's give our senior respect for you to wrap up this question, and then we will throw this back to CJ for the closing remarks, and also Dr. Moby as our TV sponsor. And the rest of you can always join us next week, same time. Mr. Eden Liu, take it away.
Okay, just because I have white hair, I guess maybe having white hair, now reflecting on the years that have passed, I've been to many countries in Asia, in America, Africa, Europe, and things like that. And I'm considered a generation when, air travel started very recently. Started when I was just about that age, yeah. But I will see that the next generation or the generation after us will have even more opportunity to travel, and they will see more movies from Hollywood, from China, from Japan, from India, and so on and so forth. So I think the kind of people that we are going to have in this world will understand each other a little bit more better than my generation. Thank you.
Yeah, let's have Dr. Moby, and then let's have CJ for the closing speech. Thank you so much, Eden. Let's spill over this to the 22nd. Dr. Moby as our TV sponsor.
Oh, thank you for everybody for joining in, and it means a lot. This is what I think Face of Humanity is. You can see a glimpse of right now. We all represent different things, but we are together. We have one objective, and that's to serve humanity, to help humanity in every way. Whether you are a physician or a healthcare provider or not healthcare provider, we have a role in this world. And this is very important. And I want to congratulate everybody, I think, putting such a great show. and helping everyone. And we'll keep this mission will keep on going. This is a journey. This is not the end of our book or chapter, and this is just the beginning. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see better and better days to come.
CJ, take it away, CJ.
Yes, thank you for that wonderful speech, Dr. Moby, and for your tireless efforts on the front lines as a healthcare worker and also as a TV sponsor. I want each of you to know that you are the everyday heroes that the world needs right now. You do not think that you are, but you have to understand that the world needs you, and they need you to continue your fight to make sure that humanity becomes the best version of ourselves. I also want to thank each of you for becoming the first part of this Trans-Pacific collaboration of It's My Life. Vicki Esther Chang is a phenomenal individual who brought this idea into the world, and I want to thank her, because without her being the catalyst behind this project, it would have never come to fruition. So from the United States to Singapore to Pakistan and Mexico, thank each and every single person who is on this panel, as well as everyone who has watched this and who will forever watch this, as it will stay as a part of history, and how humanity comes together and starts that pebble in that pond that starts to ripple to create a better future for the whole world. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you so much, CJ. Not forgetting today, the cover girl of the day and the first inaugural issue is Miss Annette Wittenberger, and I'm going to let her have the last 10 seconds and replay the video to wrap this up, whereby Dr. Moby and Miss Annette, both of you are the cover girl and the cover boy, and that will be the video after her closing speech. Annette, take it away, 15 seconds.
I'm still blown away by this whole thing that's going on, and to have met each and every one of you. I'm on the inside, I'm as excited as Miguel is. I'm just recovering from being sick. So I apologize, but I'm just as excited as you, Miguel. So thank you. I've been blessed to know or to meet CJ. We've been Facebook friends, but we will meet in person soon for a couple years now. So I appreciate all of this. My work is very important to me, and I just love that she has supported me through her whole being, behind the scenes with all of this. So thank you so much. I can't wait to get a copy of this in my hands. I'm so excited, and bless you all for all the work that each and every one of you do, because it's definitely making the world a better place. So thank you so much.
Yes, and just to say thanks to all the veterans, Ralph, Annette, and CJ yourself, and also Dr. Moby at the front line, and also Mr. Eden Liu, the Singapore architect of the economy and education system, wonderful teacher, Professor Ko, and Professor Miguel from Mexico, and Jamil, the community leader, and Dr. Ayman also at the front line, and thank her work for the women. And I'm going to share this video to the rest of you, and then a goodbye. But because we're so excited, this is the start, like what Dr. Moby says. Come back again on the 22nd and share more stories, and invite your wives and your husbands and your daughters and participate in this conversation. Maybe they will say, no, mommy, no, daddy, I think the world is worse. And then you tell them, no, you gotta get a good job. All right, I'm going to play this video for all of you. Wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Moby. This is the start of a wonderful conversation. It's My Life. It launches. And look at this. Do not blink your eye. With that, I close. All right, ladies and gentlemen, bye. Now look at this. This is for you.
Since the day I can.
Bye, ladies and gentlemen. Now tune in 22nd. If you would like to come in, Miguel, you're already there. And Dr. Moby, if you would like to continue on this conversation, we will come back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, bye.
Adiós, amigos.